Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year from myself as your regional minister, from the Christian Church in Ohio regional staff, from the Regional Church Council, from our regional elders, and all our leaders and volunteers. We give thanks for all the mission and ministry in which you have engaged in Christ's name in 2023. Through our ecumenical and interfaith partners, our 130 congregations and over 300 clergy, and a multitude of lay leaders and members, children, youth, and young adults, and adults of all ages have been nurtured in the faith and equipped for ministry as disciples of Christ. People have been inspired and encouraged to be ambassadors of equity and righteousness, outreach and service, care and compassion, evangelism and witness. Lives have been changed by acts of service, kindness, transformation, advocacy, and justice. Thank you. Thank you for who you are and all that you do to love God and neighbor even as you are loved yourselves. I acknowledge that for many of our communities of faith, you are fulfilling God's call with more limited resources and fewer members than you have in years. My heart overflows with gratitude. At the same time, we journey in this holy season, as did Mary and Joseph, acknowledging that all is not well in our world. Voices of division and hatred and discrimination echo throughout the land, stoking fear and anger for partisan purposes, with many of the most intolerant minority perspectives being cast into law and public policy. Wars and violent conflicts rage around the globe, some saying at a ferociousness not experienced since World War II. With the Sudan Civil War, Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine, and of course, Israel's war on Hamas at the top of a most horrible list of so many. And what began as Israel's response to the horrific attacks by Hamas and the terrible taking of hostages has resulted in one of the most catastrophic retaliations that many name as genocide, and by anyone's account has utterly devastated the civilian infrastructure of the Palestinian people, including homes and businesses, schools, hospitals, and places of worship, with women and children taking the brunt of this violence. Thus, our singing of carols, our feasting on favorite foods, and our enjoyment of treasured holiday traditions must be subdued, as our hearts are heavy with concern, uncertainty, and even, dare I say, dread at what lies ahead. But luckily, my friends, the story we recall at Christmas is honest enough to not avoid the significant challenges of life. Faced with a premonition of Herod's bloodthirsty and narcissistic hunger for power, the wise ones from afar chose to circumvent his maniacal distortions of the truth and head home by another way, once they had honored the newborn ruler with a very different understanding of power. Likewise, made aware of the violence that was certain to follow Herod's ego being hurt and plans being thwarted, Mary and Joseph, with the baby Jesus, became undocumented refugees fleeing to another country for safety and a new lease on life. While sadly, at the very same time, so many other infants were slaughtered in a vain attempt by the powers that be to maintain control. But in the end, we must not let fear, violence, hopelessness, and bigotry rule the day nor rule our hearts. We must remind ourselves that the Christ child grew up to live a life full of healing, wisdom, empowerment, and even love, all the while knowing what came before and what lies ahead. Jesus Christ remains a stark reminder that the warfare, violence, and hatred do not have the last word, and that grace, peace, justice, righteousness, and love will indeed prevail. I pray that the year ahead, that the Christian Church in Ohio will be your reliable and trusted partner in ministry, so that together we will invite God in Christ to abide with us, no matter what 2024 brings. Have a blessed Christmas and New Year.